tonight is Wednesday. If you were watching last night, I said, hi, welcome to Wednesday's show, because the week has seemed that long. I want to give a very special shout out right off the top of the show to the inmates at the Huntington Correctional Institution in Pennsylvania. Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching. And the rest of the people who watch the show all the time are like, what's she doing? Why does she think that the inmates are watching? I actually know that they're watching because they told us. They told us so. They yelled it out of the windows at the Huntington Correctional Institution. I'm going to play the tape for you a little bit later on in the program. It's kind of an interesting thing. Why does that matter? Because that is where Luigi Mangione is holed up tonight. I do not know if he's watching. I do not know if he has access to television in the ISO cell that he is in. But his fellow inmates know he's there, and they've got something to say. You're going to hear it. Okay, so here's a quick snippet of it before I'm going to play the whole thing, but here's a quick snippet. Take a peek.
Luigi's conditions suck! Free Luigi!
And then he said something about NewsNation. So again, you're going to hear that whole tape that we recorded outside of the institution today. Never thought that would happen. Personal shout out too. Also, we're going to tell you what life is like in there. We've got access to the menu. We know what he had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner today, what the conditions are like. And then there's this whole business about the evidence just comes piling in. Bad news to worse for Luigi. I'm telling you, today it was the ghost gun. Cops say that it's confirmed to match the casings at the murder scene. That's not a good fact. And then you probably heard about the fingerprints on the water bottle. That matches. And that also the DNA on the Kind bar discarded at the scene. Those match Luigi. It's just really not looking good for him. So the defense, we're going to dig into that. Because could he possibly say, I got a sore back? I mean, the whole story is this whole surgery in the back and the angst against the healthcare profession and the CEO because denials, you know. Can he really use that sore back business? I got a couple things to say about that. And this video here matters. This whole fighting with the escorts going into court yesterday. That's going to play into that defense if he so chooses. Also, if he doesn't like where he is right now in Pennsylvania, he should slow roll it, because when he gets to Rikers, and he will get to Rikers, that is a hellhole. You're going to hear from an inmate who spent a lot of time at Rikers, who knows all of the ugly, and he's going to tell you about it tonight. And then in Texas, I've been covering the story of Suzanne Simpson. She's got 4 beautiful kids. Christmas is coming. She has been gone for months now. And that husband of hers, not such a prize, by the way. He was locked up and charged with her murder, even though they haven't found her body. But they just found something else. Dare I say, parts of her. And I'm telling you, it is bad news for Brad. I'm going to explain what it is. Got the reporter who's been first on the scene on all of this to explain and why it really looks bad for that dad. I just feel like those poor kids, 4 kids, mom is gone. Now this awful piece of evidence, and that dad, not looking good for him either. So Christmas will be really hard. And then we got this amazing story out of a car dealership. I'm sure you bought a car once and again in your life, and you've probably had some good experiences and bad experiences. This one guy who bought a car, the small print said as is. And that's really, I need you to hold on to those words till I show you the full video. But he bought a car as is, and then he drove it off the lot, and he didn't like the as is. And he wanted to return it, and the dealership said no. So what do you think he did? I'm going to give you a teaser. Take a look.
I wasn't, huh? I told you, mother. Whoa! Whoa, shit. Call the cops!
That video keeps going. And there is a choice moment I have to show you a little bit later on. So many things to unpack there. But let me start here. Presumption of innocence. It is not just a good idea, it is the law of the land here in the good old US of A. And it's not just the law, it is the cornerstone of our system of criminal justice. Thank you, Jesus, for that. It is how a good civilized society works. But Luigi Mangione sure is making it hard. Every time a New York cop shows up at a mic, we learn of more smoking gun evidence that ties him to the murder of Brian Thompson, that United Healthcare CEO, who was executed on a New York sidewalk 1 week ago today. And some of that evidence is literally a smoking gun, the 3D printed ghost gun that Mangione had on his person when he was busted in that Pennsylvania McDonald's. That gun came back from the New York crime lab today, and sure enough, cops say it matches the shell casings found at the murder scene. So what about fingerprints? They got that too. We now know that the prints on a water bottle and a kind wrapper found near the killing belong to, wait for it, that Maryland-born, Ivy League-educated software engineer, Luigi Mangione. Need I go on? Okay, I will. Because when he was outed and cornered there at the Altoona McDonald's, less than 300 miles from Manhattan, eating that hash brown, he was carrying a manifesto, cops say, a manifesto that railed on the man, but also carrying something else with a lot of incriminating writing, a spiral notebook. And in the notebook, police say he had jotted down times and location of the investors' conference where Brian Thompson was due to speak and hold meetings, and where he was headed when he was gunned down. Also included in the notebook, musings about methods of dying. The writer decides against using a bomb because he said it could, quote, kill innocents, and says he only wants to, quote, kill the CEO at his own bean-counting conference. And my God, it's like a map for prosecutors. No surprise, given Mangione's documented fondness for the Unabomber, the notes that were found on him make reference to Ted Kaczynski, who justified his own murder campaign as a pushback against shadowy forces. And perhaps were he still alive, Kaczynski might have been proud of this fanboy's performance going into yesterday's extradition hearing. Luigi was not going in quietly. Oh, no.
Luigi, do it. And it's completely out of touch. And it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
By the way, the notebook stuff is quite separate from the so-called manifesto, also found on Mangione's person, which said the parasites had it coming. And while we are listing the evidence, do not forget the fake IDs, including the one that the killer used to check into an Upper West Side hostel in Manhattan. For the record, the last time Luigi Mangione's lawyer spoke to reporters, he insisted that the cops got the wrong guy. Okay. He is still presumed innocent either way. And this is Mangione's third night in a Pennsylvania prison, not a county jail. That was not convenient in this case. Instead, he is in the oldest penitentiary in the Commonwealth. And we are live tonight outside those prison walls, where we learned that NewsNation has some fans on the inside. Going to show you what they were yelling out the windows this afternoon in its entirety. But before we do that, I do want to show you something else that I find very upsetting, very disturbing. It's popping up all around like New York City. This homemade wanted posters with pictures of the murdered insurance CEO and also many of his colleagues in the healthcare and insurance industry. The posters say, "Fight back," and repeat the words that were written on the shell casings, the ones that were left behind at the murder scene: deny, defend, depose. The poster with Thompson's face has a big red X over it, but the other CEOs, they do not have a red X, as if they are waiting for their turn. I want to get you to that maximum security prison now, just east of Altoona, Pennsylvania. Luigi Mangione's home tonight, and until he makes the trip back to New York City and presumably a lengthy stay at Rikers. That's NewsNation's correspondent Alex Capriello standing by to do the big report for us tonight. So it's an interesting interaction you had with the inmates from over the chain link. Tell me about it, Alex.
Yeah, pretty unbelievable moment. And Ashleigh, I can tell you at this very moment, I can look over my left shoulder up at the top of this prison wall, see through a window, and see that your face is right there. They're watching Banfield at this exact moment, as they promised they would. All right, so let's backtrack a little bit, okay? So earlier today, I was reporting outside this prison wall. So, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if you just heard that, Ashleigh. That was them screaming.
I just waved. Alex, I just waved, and that was the...
Can you hear that?
Hi, guys. Say hello to Alex Capriello.
They said, we got you, Alex. Ashleigh says hello.
I can't believe this.
There they are. I can't tell if you can hear this.
Oh, we can hear it.
There you go.
Hi, guys.
Look up at that window.
Let me yell them a question. Alex, hold on. Let me yell a question. Guys, if you can hear me clearly,
okay.
Do you guys have any sights on Luigi Mangione? Just yell yes or no. I don't know if they're answering.
They're flickering. They're saying no. Go ahead, ask
no,
another one. They can hear you.
Okay. You'll have to translate, Alex.
All right, so earlier today I was reporting outside these prison walls when all of a sudden I heard my name, and I couldn't tell if they were, catcalling me or heckling me or even saying my name whatsoever. And so I started reporting on Luigi Mangione's prison conditions as I was finding them out. And as soon as the live shot was over, that's when I turned around and they said, the conditions suck. And so that was my confirmation. Oh my gosh, they're watching NewsNation at that very moment. I pulled out my camera, I recorded, and here's more of that interaction. Take a look from earlier today.
Luigi's conditions suck! Free Luigi! Terrible!
Ashleigh, they're going nuts in there right now watching this video on playback. This was just from a few hours ago, and here they are, 10 o'clock as promised. They said earlier today, tell Ashleigh Banfield that Luigi is watching at 10 o'clock. I mean, obviously, that's just a hard roast at this point because they're not near Luigi in any way, as confirmed by the Department of Corrections earlier today. But at the same time, they've picked a trusted news source to watch this very high-profile national case. Of course, they're watching us.
It's crazy. Hey, Alex, can I ask you a favor? Can I just ask the guys, if they can hear me right now, to answer yes or no very loud? Does Luigi have television in his single cell?
No.
Unreal. They said no, right? Obviously, we have a little bit of a delay, but they're getting. They're getting the questions, and they're giving us the answers. So Luigi does not have. Wow, this is quite something. This is the strangest interview I've ever conducted.
Me too, Ashleigh. According to the Department of Corrections, he's got his own solitary cell. It's not solitary confinement, but he's by himself. It's not dorm style. I'm not sure exactly what those guys got going on in terms of a living situation. It sounds like they're all clustered together. But as far as Luigi's accommodations, he's by himself. He's got a bed. He's got a chair. He's got a toilet, a sink. Again, he's not with the rest of these guys, but he's not in solitary confinement.
Okay, so I'm going to read out the menu, and then I'm going to ask the guys if it was any good, the dinner tonight. So the breakfast was fruit, grits, bread, eggs, and coffee. He had the choice. The lunch was porcupine meatballs, potatoes, bread, and fruit. And tonight's dinner, mac and cheese, pasta bean casserole, and stewed tomatoes with broccoli. So guys, was dinner good, yes or no? What
terrible,
are they saying?
They're saying.
I heard terrible. I heard terrible.
They're saying heck no. They're saying BS. They're saying terrible. They're saying that's not what they are eating.
Oh man, I totally can't get over this. I'm going to explain what porcupine meatballs are in a little bit, just not right now. Okay, I need to get to some serious business. Guys, you're going to have to just listen to the report up there. You got to give Alex a moment of peace for a second. I got business to do here. It's about your neighbor who's in that institution with you up there. So the Altoona police They say that there were threats made to officers by the members of the public for having arrested Luigi Mangione, and maybe some citizens as well had threats that they're investigating. Have they made any identifications on people who've made these threats to police officers and to citizens, maybe the McDonald's employees?
No, and they're considering this all a part of the larger investigation, so they're keeping a pretty tight lid on that. What they do say, though, is that their officers are receiving threats, and also the people at this McDonald's have received threats. In fact, I've seen reporting that maybe even some of these McDonald's employees have been asked to step away for a time, just so that way they don't get increasing pressure. And this really all has to do with this sort of fanfare and mythology that's surrounding Luigi at this point. There's so many people online that are supporting him for his actions due to their own complaints with the healthcare industry as a whole, or even we've seen some people just commenting on his looks and how handsome he is. And so he's built up this following, so to speak. And so there's threats being made towards these police officers for actually going out there and apprehending him. But then also this McDonald's is now caught in the fire too, because it was the location that he was caught. So much so that it's also received just incredible negative feedback and reviews online. I've seen it plummet, 1-star reviews for this one specific McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. People saying that it's got rats and just doing whatever they can to sort of support Luigi and you know, bash everyone else that got in the way.
Yeah, okay. Other question here about some wanted posters that have shown up all around New York City, putting other CEOs' faces up, other healthcare executives' faces up, saying that, you know, these guys are wanted too, and then putting the big red X over Brian Thompson's. Is there any word on whether this is something more sinister or just, you know, really, really tacky freedom of speech?
Yeah, it's sinister at the very most and distasteful at the very least. These are being seen on parts of lower Manhattan, not just Brian Thompson, but other CEOs of Fortune 500 and mega companies. Basically, it's not hitting or landing very well with the people of Manhattan. Obviously, they're still trying to come to grips with what just happened 1 week ago right in their city in broad daylight. And so basically what we've seen is many people are pulling these down, shredding them, and getting rid of them. So rightfully so. This seems to be a threat towards others, but no authenticity to them. It does not seem as if this is a real hit list, so to speak.
Okay, I have another question for the guys behind you, okay? Can I pop it out there? Hey, guys, don't yell until I finish the question.
Go ahead.
So the question is about Luigi Mangione. He's fighting extradition, so he's going to be in that jail presumably for a little bit longer, but eventually he's going to end up going to Rikers. I don't know how many guys behind you in the walls there have been to Rikers, but it's a bit of a hellhole. So the question I have for the guys, if you could just yell stay or go, do you think that Luigi should just, you know, waive extradition and get on with the process and go to Rikers, or should he stay in that prison Huntington with the rest of you guys there in Pennsylvania? So it's either stay or go. Just yell that out. And again, we have a little bit of a delay. Alex,
I'm sure you heard that
I
one,
could hear
Ashleigh.
them saying go. Was it go? Were they saying go?
They're saying go. They're saying go. They say get on with it. Go to Rikers Island.
Wow. You know, I wonder if they mean go because they say that the place they're in right now is a hellhole, maybe worse, but I don't know. I mean, Rikers is pretty bad. We got the comparison coming up, one of the inmates.
I'm not sure if you heard them say it just now when I was talking about the threats of rats in McDonald's. Somebody just said they got rats in here too. So it seems they're not very happy with the food here or the accommodations. Maybe we need to send an email to the Department of Corrections about that for tomorrow morning.
Any last comments you can hear from the guys there? And maybe just swing the camera up and see if you can see the shot that you showed me before.
Can you swing the camera up there, Greg? They want to try to see...
Yeah, the view that you're seeing, so we can see where the guys are yelling out the windows.
So go ahead and see those flashing lights?
Yeah, zoom in if you can. Is that Greg, your cameraman?
Zoom
Just zoom in as much as you can. And Wow. I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to see any faces in those windows, but rest assured, gentlemen, we can absolutely hear you.
But
and
isn't that interesting, Ashleigh?
You got your interview. Is there doing the strobe light for us? Was that the strobing was for us?
That's what I'm saying, so. Ashleigh. Isn't it interesting to see what accommodations that they have? They got their own light switches. They're obviously watching TV.
They're all doing
past
it.
Any sort of 10 o'clock curfew, you know. Yep, they're doing this for you. They're watching NewsNation at this very moment.
They're they're all flicking their cell lights on and off. No, keep the camera over there. I want to see how many there are. That's fascinating to me. Greg, can you pan back over?
I want to keep seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm counting.
Pan back over. I want to just see how many of them are
4, 5, 6.
Doing their strobe lights for us. All right. Well, I do want to say thank you, guys. I really appreciate all of you giving us your attention and also answering our questions as hard as it was. You certainly were heard tonight. We're getting this again. If you're just tuning into NewsNation right now, this is the prison inmates at the SCI Huntington watching our show and responding by turning their lights on and off to show us that they are in fact watching and responding. And the most interesting thing I think I heard them say, other than the food wasn't great, was that they think that Luigi Mangione should waive the extradition and move on and get out of that holding institution and head on to Rikers. Alex, this is one for the record books. Thank you for facilitating this. This has been pretty amazing.
I'll never forget this, Ashleigh. Thanks for having me. We appreciate you.
Wow. That is something. Good night, guys, and thank you. Well, maybe let's do this again sometime. And thank you, Alex. Really appreciate it. Okay, I got to get undiscombobulated. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my next guest now, and I want to make it perfectly clear that Luigi Mangione, guilty or not guilty, is by no means a poster boy for a supposedly failed healthcare system. This kid comes from money. I'm talking big money, old money. So whatever cause that he thinks he may be championing here, it's nothing that he's ever likely experienced. Maybe some of those inmates who are watching, maybe they've experienced being shut down by healthcare and being stuck, not able to afford those bills. But he, Luigi, had a family that loved him and cared about him and had a boatload of cash. And so he never felt the loss of a denied healthcare insurance claim. No faceless corporation ever drove Luigi to the brink of bankruptcy or insanity or even death. That said, I am pleased to welcome back one of my favorite criminal defense attorneys, Alexandra Kazarian. Alexandra, our interview is a little shorter because we had a very unique interview that just happened at Huntington in the windows, out the windows of the open windows. But I do want to ask you about this case against Luigi Mangione. It's a quick interview. So first question is, it looks like it's getting real bad for him, almost slam dunk. I never say slam dunk, but we're getting there, aren't we?
Well, I mean, slam dunk is you've got to get those 12 people, all 12 of them, to agree on a conviction. So it's never a slam dunk. Sure, there looks like there's a lot of credible evidence. That's what we call it. But getting 12 people to agree when you've got a mass of mitigation on the other side of it is always a question. There's always a huge question mark. So slam dunk, I don't know. Strong case for the prosecution, possibly. But who are those 12 people going to be, and what individual issues do they have? What's going on inside of their heads? And is it really going to be easy for everybody to say, yes, absolutely not, send this guy away for the rest of his life? That's always a question.
Next question, and I really do have so many for you. If I were his lawyer, I would be thinking, what can I use here to chip away at the crime, at the sentence, all of the above? And you got the back pain and maybe sort of a frenzy of pain and psychosis and medication, etc. But then you got this guy who looked like he had no pain at all. We had a spinal surgeon on last night saying, I watched him, pushing his way and shoving with the corrections officers. That's not a guy like my patients who suffer from debilitating pain. Neither is it a guy who can jump on a bike and run from a crime scene and then travel for, 5 days. So that's going to even be hard to put into his defense, isn't it?
Well, what he's discounting is the possibility of a mental health issue. I have seen clients who have very, very serious physical issues, who are in the middle of a psychotic episode, who feel absolutely no pain. When you see these people who are having a complete psychotic break and it takes 10 officers to subdue them, it's because they are not feeling the pain that is obviously coursing through their body at the time. So there could potentially be a mental health defense there, that he was on a psychotic break and that he's operating under some kind of a delusion. And if a jury finds that the delusion that he was operating under makes it so that what he thought he was doing was morally correct or legally correct, that could be a defense. So the physical pain that you're not seeing could be to a mental health issue that's happening at the same time.
Alexander Kazarian, sorry, this is a shorter interview. Thank you so much for doing this tonight. And also I want to give out extra props as well to the guys at the Huntington SCI for doing the interview impromptu and giving me the disco lights at the end of the interview. Thanks, Alexander. I'll have you on again.
Absolutely. You're welcome to cut into my time anytime. Good luck to them all.
It was kind of crazy, right? I mean, honestly, in my 36 years, I don't think I've ever had an interview like that. Okay, still to come, lots more and little time. So Luigi Mangione has every right not to make it easy for the state of New York to drag him back there to face the murder charges. But it isn't going to change anything. He is going back. And it's certainly not going to change the fresh hell that is waiting for him in New York that begins with a dangerous, filthy, and vermin-infested jail called Rikers. When we come back, a former Rikers inmate joins me with some hard-won insights into what Luigi has coming. Okay, yeah, he is fighting it now. But I do have a prediction to make. Luigi Mangione is going to be over the moon when he walks into a New York City courtroom to answer a second-degree murder charge. And I am not crazy. I say that because if he is in court in New York, or he's on the bus to court in New York, or in a holding cell at the courthouse in New York, he will not be in Rikers Island, New York, which is everything that you've seen in the movies and you've heard on the news and worse. Right now, as you know, Mangione is being held in a century-old Pennsylvania prison. Hi, guys. Thank you for watching. They were on the top of the show. We did our interview through the windows of the prison. And TMZ is reporting that Mangione has a cell to himself at Huntington. Officials say he is not in solitary per se, but he won't be allowed around the other inmates. And the inmates confirmed that tonight. They said, nope, they haven't seen him. We just shared today's menu at SCI Huntington. I'm not going to reread it for you because the guys already weighed in on it and said they didn't like it, but I did learn what porcupine meatballs are. They had that for lunch. It is not meat from porcupines. It's ground beef and rice. Makes it look like a porcupine. Okay, and then also, the dinner wasn't great. But enjoy it while you can, Luigi, because sooner or later, you will be fighting other Rikers inmates for a piece of cold chicken, which a former inmate says is the only discernible meat dish at New York's largest and most notorious lockup. But food may be the least of Luigi's worries. He will likely get a cell to himself, but he won't be alone because any number of roaches, water bugs, ants, flies, and gnats will keep him company round the clock, other inmates say. There are showers, but the inmates say they might be even more repulsive than the rest of the place. And don't get me started on the safety issues and ventilation problems and skyrocketing suicide rates at Rikers. Even a kid took his own life because he was locked up at Rikers. Full disclosure, I have never been incarcerated at Rikers or anywhere else. But my next guest has been, and he can talk from experience. Gene Borrello is a former organized crime associate who spent a total of 13 years behind bars, 4 of them at Rikers. It's good to have you back on the show, Mr. Borrello, and I think your fellow inmates over at Huntington are watching right now. If you want to give them a shout out, they've been giving me the disco lights attention. I think you might have seen that segment earlier. It was kind of wild.
Yes, I did. That's a sign that they want to let you know when they're flashing the lights, like we hear you, we see you. That's their communication if you can't hear them.
Well, I heard them though. I could hear them loud and clear. They said the food sucked, and that they thought that Luigi Mangione should get the H out of there. They said, as bad as as it is at Rikers, they think it's so bad there, he should go to New York. What are your thoughts about that?
I think they want him to go to Rikers Island. I mean, that's I don't think anybody wants to go to Rikers Island.
Crazy.
But that is the worst county in America. Yeah. It is the worst county in America, the most dangerous county in America. And I heard you saying about all the food stuff and everything, the problems. That's the least of the worries. You have to watch your back every day. And, you know, it's the violence that's really the dangerous part in Rikers Island. There's no structure. The COs have no control. It's just complete chaos. You have the 5 boroughs. Picture the 5 boroughs with every gang member mixed up. There's almost about, I believe, 13,000 inmates, about 2,000 per building. And it's just nonstop cuttings and stabbings and just nonstop gang violence, where the cops are actually scared to come to work, scared to do their job, scared to even break up a fight. I was there. I've been sprayed with mace before. I've been in fights before in there. And I can tell you that it's a place that you want to avoid by any means necessary.
So I read a little bit about something called the Bing. And I guess the Bing is one of the terms used for solitary, and they sure make good use of solitary, it seems, from the reports of other inmates.
Well, here's the thing with the Bing. It's the box. You could wait on a list. How about this? There's so many people getting in trouble that literally you would have to do something so bad to go to the box. There's a list to go to the box. I owed box time. I never did it. Because it takes months and maybe a year to get into the hole, to do your time. So when you commit this crime or whatever you do inside jail, you might not ever hit the box because you have to wait to go in it.
Wow.
That's how bad it is. Yeah. So when I'm telling you people are getting cut, they're getting cut with surgical scalpels, 11s. They go through metal detectors. So they have surgical scalpels they're using on you.
How on earth do they get them? It's crazy. And by the way, I don't think I've ever heard of a waiting list for solitary to carry out your punishment. So much so such a long waiting list that,
right,
like you said, some of the inmates are in there. They never actually have to carry out their punishment because the waiting list is too long.
Right. You have to fight for a chair. You have to fight for your food sometimes. You have to fight to use the phone. You're not getting on that phone past 7 o'clock unless you are a gang member or you've been there a long time and you earn your respect. You're not touching the phone. That's just what it is.
I heard another story, and tell me if it's true, that the guys, when they go into the mess hall, whether you call it a dining hall, mess hall, whatever it is where you get dinner, lunch, breakfast, that they refer to the inmates as feeders. Is that true?
I never heard that, but the thing with if you're in high classification, the food comes to you. You don't go to the mess hall. So where he's going to be, the food comes to him. He's going to be in cells, and all the food comes to you. You don't leave. You have to be escorted everywhere when you're a high classification. He has a murder. He has a silencer, a ghost gun. He's probably going to the feds anyway, cross state lines. But like I said, when he does get to Rikers Island, he will be in a high-profile house. And the food, everything comes to him. Commissary comes to him. He does not go nowhere except for a visit. That's it.
Okay. Quick question. I'm out of time, but I do want to get this on the record. Do you think that he's going to be treated as a hero when he gets to Rikers, or will he be suffering the same fears and dangers as everyone else?
Well, what they're doing is bad. Is saying that they're letting the people know his family's worth $100 million, and that's really bad to go into Rikers Island like that. So they don't really care who you are, but I can tell you what they do care about. They're going to let him know that if you want to live in here, you're going to pay us. Because now they have the mindset that this kid is filthy rich, his family's rich. So, all right, we'll protect you. You're going to be good in Rikers Island, but you're going to send it to us. That's what's all that's going to happen, basically, in Rikers Island. Yes.
Man, oh man, I'm glad that I haven't got that firsthand experience. Usually as a reporter, I want that firsthand experience. But Gene Borrello, it's good of you to share. Thank you so much. Good to see you again, sir.
Yes. All right.
All right. Appreciate Gene Borrello. We'll have him back again as well. And if you want to hear more of Gene's prison stories, there is a book that's written about him. It's called Born in the Life, the story of an ex-Bonanno family mafia enforcer, and it's available everywhere. Straight ahead, there are 4 kids in Texas tonight for whom Christmas in a couple of weeks is sure to be a very sad day. And that's because their mom was just murdered and their dad is sitting in a jail cell accused of doing it. Up till now, the evidence on that dad was strong, but not a slam dunk. Again, I said up till now. After the break, the bombshell discovery that just might be the death knell for that father of 4. Stories next. If you watch every night, like the guys at SCI Huntington apparently, you probably know that we've been on this New York CEO murder for days and nights on end. But there is other news that has kept right on happening and other big stories that we've been following, mysteries that remain unsolved. And here's one of the biggest. The disappearance and alleged murder of Suzanne Simpson by her husband in Texas. There are now apparently, authorities say, DNA samples belonging to Suzanne found on a motorized handsaw belonging to that husband, Brad Simpson. A handsaw that he allegedly tried to hide when police came looking for Suzanne. And this comes from a newly unsealed indictment. It goes a long way towards solving at least one of the mysteries in this case. Why was Brad charged with Suzanne's murder more than a month ago before police even had a body? And P.S., they still don't have a body. The real estate agent and mother of four hasn't been seen alive or in any other manner since a neighbor saw her in a physical fight with Brad on October 6th, right before she vanished. I'm joined once again by Sig Christensen, investigative reporter for the San Antonio Express News. Sig, there's been so much evidence already. I mean, video of him driving around with all this incriminating stuff in the back of his flatbed, tarps and bleach and all sorts of things being purchased. But this seems to me, DNA, Suzanne's DNA on the handsaw, this seems to me to be the most incriminating. Am I wrong?
It doesn't look good, but we don't know what kind of DNA it is. So is it a fingerprint, or is it perhaps something more, blood or bone, things that you could expect to show up like that if it were used in a crime. And so we don't know. And I don't even know what kind of power saw that is. And I would really be interested in knowing that, because that would tell you something about what he was doing with it. And we don't know why he concealed it, but he concealed that power saw as well as an automatic weapon. He did not want the authorities to find those things, and he concealed them after those guys started their investigation.
Did that make a difference for the family members of Suzanne? I mean, they were so muted about their reaction to Brad's arrest. But now, hearing about DNA on a buzzsaw, did that change the equation for them?
I doubt it. One of the interesting things from early on is that one of his brothers was basically begging him to come clean about what happened. It's as if they made an assumption off the bat that he did something wrong. And that raises a lot of questions for me. Was he a problem before this? And who knew about that if he was? I mean, their reaction was indeed muted. It wasn't shocked. They weren't defending him. It was almost as if maybe they weren't surprised.
So he appeared in court this week, I guess on December 9th, not looking particularly great. And he's supposed to appear next Thursday. What's the appearance on Thursday about?
That's going to be a bond modification hearing, from what I understand. It'll be very interesting to see where the judge goes with that. There's also a request from Simpson's attorney, his court-appointed attorney, to throw the indictment out because he says it's too vague. I don't know what will happen. It's impossible to predict what the judge will do. But he did inject a gag order, which applies to the police, prosecutors, and witnesses. And those are all people, by the way, who haven't been talking anyhow. So I'm not sure that really moves the dime very much. It may have just been something he did as a formality. But the judge seems to be indicating that he's going to run a tight ship here.
I dare say that, the missing wife's DNA on the handsaw is not going to speak well to modification of bond in a first-degree murder or even a second-degree murder in a death penalty state. Sig, keep an eye on it for us. I so appreciate your updates. Thank you for this tonight.
We will. Thank you.
Okay, coming up next, when life hands us a lemon, most of us know what to do. But what if a car dealer sells us one? Do we beg and plead for our money back, make friends with a good mechanic, or do we do what this irate buyer in Utah did when he hit his breaking point? Yeah. Whoa, what do you suppose happened after they yelled, "Call the cops," and the expletives stopped? We're going to show you the rest of the tape when we come back. So Michael Lee Murray in Utah did not like the car he bought for $4,000. He was not happy. He drove off the lot. He said it wasn't working, and he said, "I want to bring it back." But the fine print said "as is." And you've had that, right? You've had "as is." It means it is as is. But Michael Lee Murray wasn't having that. And he said they were going to take that car back no matter what. And he was good on his word. Take a look.
I wasn't, huh? I told you, mother.
Whoa! Whoa, shit.
Call the cops! Oh, God. Anybody.
Holy
07857. Is anybody under the car?
No.
No. Everybody's going. I told you.
Shut it off. It's running.
Holy turn the car off. Don't move it. Don't move it.
Shut it off.
Nobody was there?
No.
How old is that man?
We have all this information.
We have all this information. Yeah, he's awake.
Did you hear that? They had all his information. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But that was a Subaru. Usually, like peace-loving granola tree huggers drive Subarus, right? Anyway, $4,000 is going to seem like a deal, given the fact that lawyers' fees, maybe criminal penalties, and the $10,000 early estimate on the damage may be coming to us, Mr. Lee, Michael Lee Murray. I want to give a big shout out at the end of the show right now to the guys at SCI Huntington in Pennsylvania for giving me the full light show and answering questions in and out of their jail cell windows. Really appreciate this, guys. Maybe we can talk again sometime real soon. Meantime, everybody keep watching because Cuomo starts now.
Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. Two things can be true at the same time. The CEO assassin is part of the problem in our society, privileged and looking for a cause that is not part of his lived experience. But there's something else that's true. The healthcare system is widely feared and reviled, specifically the insurance side. Now, we struggle with this. Why? Because in our social media culture, everything's got to be 100-0. Everything's a gotcha. Everything's got to be painfully obvious. But this is about two things being true. This wanton murder